Hi guys, my name is Barry Burkett. I'm an instructional technology consultant with KET. This position is sponsored by Kentucky Adult Education to help you with technology needs inside of your center. My goal is to help you integrate technology. In order to integrate technology, we're going to use things like students' own devices, the computers that you're supplied from Kentucky Adult Education, and we're going to be talking about ways you can be demonstrating inside the classroom. In order to get students more comfortable with computers, more comfortable with technology, and more savvy with both, we're going to be using modeling techniques in order to do so. So a lot of what I'm talking about is ways that you can be modeling technology inside of your program. Right now in front of you, what you see is a Google document. The Google document is coming from the computer, through the projector, to the whiteboard. Now, inside of class, being greeted by this, students would know exactly what they're working on. So you, the instructor, have made the document and you can quickly give it to the students. Those students are able to access either from the computer or laptop that the program provides, or from their cell phone that the student has, possibly even a tablet like an iPad or a Nexus tablet made by Android. Now, here at the front of the classroom, I could be controlling the document while students are watching. I can type too, watching in the class. Now, not only can the students be watching while I'm typing in the classroom, but the instructor can also be allowing the students to be taking full function of participation in the classroom, and those students can be choosing to enter their information as well. So, from a student's cell phone or from an iPad or another tablet, that student can be taking control of what they're looking at, and they could be adding content as well. Maybe I should change that so it says content. And what we're seeing is that we have two people controlling the document. You, the instructor, has part of it controlled, but then students are also able to control it in their classroom. And I'm controlling this from my cell phone, and so essentially what I have is a fully functioning word processor on the cell phone so that I could be working on it at home. Now, inside of programs that might be strapped for cash, it might not be possible for you to have laptops in your classrooms. Maybe it's more acceptable to have students be using their own devices. Well, going along with that, you can be modifying a student's Android device with both a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse. And as far as using an iPad, you can be using a Bluetooth tablet with an iPad. So that means that you can be working on your keyboarding skills with the iPads, and you can be working on clicking and dragging skills as well as keyboarding skills with the Android devices. And so it becomes very usable. Now, we can be expanding this further. I've shown you that we can be giving control to students using their own devices, but we can also be giving control to students inside the classroom by using add-ons to the system, such as wireless keyboards and mice. Now, the wireless keyboard and mouse is going to be costing about $20. And with this, there's a module I can be plugging into the computer and having further control of the classroom. Now, this allows me to step away from the board, which is nice as far as being able to not having to be stuck at the board and not having to stick my booty out at everybody while I'm presenting from the front of the class. The other nice thing is that in the middle of class, I could take my keyboard and I could say, hey, Tom, I would like for you to finish writing this. And so then Tom can take the keyboard and he can start writing on the board, and allows him to be engaged in the class in another way. Further with this engagement, you could say, you know, this is the address bar. It's where you need to type your addresses. It's different than a search bar. And you could be having those conversations as to the different browsers, what browser purposes are. You could be talking about here about how to be using word processors. And this word processor that a student has access to can be accessed on school computers as well as home computers as well as library computers because it's on the web. So what we're seeing is an expansion of the use of technology in the classroom. Our goal is to be making it more integrated in the student's life and not something special. The more comfortable we get with technology, the more other things can be happening as well. And so then, beyond using my computer inside the classroom with Google Docs with the students, I can also be expanding that to be using my iPad as an instructional tool. Right now I'm going to demonstrate something called Doceri. Doceri is going to allow me to take control of my screen and use my tablet like a whiteboard. So one, I'll be able to control what I'm having students look at. I can say, hey, let's come over here and take a look at what's happening inside of ket.education. I can be scrolling through it and say, you know, I want to go into Scale City. And inside of Scale City, which is a math section, what we're going to look at specifically is going to be this activity, which is taking a little bit to load. But inside of Scale City, I could say, you know, I want to go to World Chicken Festival. And so I can use my computer and say, let's come down here. And what it's doing is putting that arrow on the screen. And so I can control it, or I can even be writing on the screen. So I could be saying, the World Chicken Festival is a very important one for us to be going to. And by using the mixture of both the writing as well as the directing, I'm able to give students a better picture as to what I'm talking about. So that is one use of the technology. Now, another thing I can be doing as well, I was talking about mirroring earlier. So one, I'm able to direct students using it, but then I can also model use of the tablet with something called AirServer. So I'm going to get out of the Doceri program, and now what I'm going to use is something called Airplay. And what that's going to allow me to do is it's going to allow me to mirror my screen onto the computer. And the reason why I'd want to do this is, once again, to model the use of my technology with the computer. So what I could be doing is using my AirServer to be modeling and mirroring the use of my iPad inside the classroom. So what this is doing is showing directly, one-to-one, the use of my iPad in the classroom. So inside the classroom, one, I can be using it to introduce games, but two, I can be using it with Google Drive. Now, what's interesting about AirServer and Airplay is that for students inside your classroom who have iDevices, whether that be an iPhone, an iPad, or an iPod Touch, they can be mirroring their screen this way as well. So that means that I can be going into fiscal year 2014 into what we're talking about today, the PD Talk, and I can be adding content to it as well. So I'm in the editing function, and I could be writing more. Now, what's interesting in this is that you can even be talking about how to be using this device to be working better for students. By using and showing that technology to the students inside the classroom as you're going through it. Equally, your student in the back of the class can be showing their screen up here as well, and you can have them side by side so you can be comparing what you and that student are doing. Another way I like to use this is that on the 2014 GED, we know that there's not going to be scrap paper when they get to the Pearson testing site. There is an app that's called Evernote. Evernote is non-platform specific software, meaning that it'll work on anything, like the cloud, like Google Documents. So Evernote is something that students can allow students to take notes in class and save it to their phone, save it to their computer, save it to wherever. Inside of it is something called Penultimate. And the way I think that Penultimate is very useful inside the classroom is that you can be having students be working with their math and showing it to everybody in the class. So here I'm looking at dividing of fractions, and I know that I need to keep, switch, flip, and so I can keep the 3 over 4. I can keep that 3 over 4. I can switch the symbol and flip the second one and continue going on with the problem. Overall, the way to be using technology in the classroom is to be using it in a way that makes sense to you. The more that you find use in it, the more your students are going to find use to it. So that's a couple ideas on how we can be using technology inside the classroom. Of course, there's more. There's interactive whiteboards, there's document cameras, but I think what we were talking about right now is a nice base to be starting with. The takeaway here is that technology can be as usable as you want it to be. I want you to think about how you use technology in your daily life and how it is that you want your students to be able to use technology. 80% of Fortune 500 companies currently accept applications online only. It is not ageist to accept applications online. It is something that students are expected to know. We need to not only help our students prepare for the future high school equivalency tests, but we also need to help them prepare for jobs and life after the GED. And that is coming down to technology fluency every day. So, I hope I've given you some ideas on how you can be using technology in the classroom, and I'm interested in hearing about them. Thank you, and have a good day.